Hiya folks, how's it going? My name is Lexi and I really like tabletop games. So much so that we get together once a week, every week, and we review one here at the gaming table. If that sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to press subscribe and keep watching today's video. I try to get these reviews done in under 10 minutes so we can both find our next game. If you would really like to support us here at the gaming table, there is a link in my description box to my Ko-Fi page where you can donate to this channel. Every single donation goes straight back into the running costs of the channel. Today we are taking a look at a game from Evil Hat Productions. I've really enjoyed quite a few of their games in the past, and I keep joking that one day I'll send them an email asking if what. I've really enjoyed a couple of games in. I've really enjoyed a few of their games in the past, so I'm excited to review another one. Let's take a look at Apocolypse Keys by Ray Najati. In this game, players take on the role of supernatural creatures known as omens, who work for a shadowy organisation called Division. This organisation is working constantly to try prevent the end of the world. Sometimes the end of the world is happening on accident, but more likely there is some kind of malevolent force trying to make it happen. Players in this game take on the roles of agents within Division who are trying to stop the end of the world happening. They do this by searching for clues to find out who is trying to end the world and how they're trying to make it happen. There's a couple of different playbooks in this game. Generally, they're centered on being a monstrous humanoid who's trying to grapple with what it means to be a person, while also trying to stop the end of the world. Of course, being a monstrous-looking humanoid is going to give you at least one complex, so a lot of the game's story and mechanics are about how you would cope with such a situation. A lot of omens are, at the end of the day, drawn to a darker, destructive side. Many who've joined Division are trying to resist this darker side, but sometimes, even with the best of intentions, they are drawn closer and closer to self-destruction. This game's main inspiration is the Hellboy franchise. A lot of people know it through the movies, and there's also the very famous original comic series. I happen to have consumed none of these. I found this game being inspired by the Hellboy world made it a bit easier for me to dive in. I didn't feel like I needed to do homework to understand what was going on. Apocolypse Keys was created using a version of Powered by the Apocalypse. In this system, you roll 2d6s, add the result of that die roll together, and apply a modifier. This is what gets you your final result. Generally, a 7 or below can be a failure, and above that is a success. This manual changes the Powered by the Apocalypse mechanics slightly. Players, instead of applying a modifier that comes from a skill or attribute, choose to instead spend a number of darkness tokens to add to the result of their roll. You have to do this before you roll the dice. In Apocolypse Keys, rolling extremely high isn't actually always a good thing. In this game, it kind of overcharges the action. The character might accidentally hurt someone or destroy something. Fundamentally, it brings them closer to their omen's darker nature. These darkness tokens are earned whenever a character manages to fulfill a question or a prompt from their character playbook. These prompts are all based around sort of emotions and different social relations they have with characters around them, so it can be a little bit difficult sometimes to determine if the requirements have been fulfilled to earn a darkness token. I would definitely be open to asking your group if you think a character has earned a darkness token, if any one of you is not sure. I really like that this version of the rules has changed the Powered by the Apocalypse system, so that rolling really high isn't always a good thing and can have unintended consequences. It gives the game a bit more of an edge, and it's not something I've seen a lot for this system. If your character happens to overcharge a roll, they will mark Ruin on their character sheet. This is kind of how close they are to that darker side. If a character takes on too much ruin, it can bring them way too close to their darker side and they can lose control. There are ways to remove ruin from your character sheet. The first one I'm not really a big fan of. The manual asks you to roleplay how your character suppresses their more unusual, darker side to fit in with society's expectations. The other way that you can remove ruin, which I think makes a bit more sense to me, is you can spend connections that you have with other characters. This is characters using their relationships with one another to lean on each other or to pay back a favor to make their burden a bit lighter. Connections can be gained by helping people, having them owe you a favor. Basically, it's building relationships, both with strangers and with friends. To roll the dice for your character to do something, you need to select a move. I will be honest, I didn't necessarily understand all of the moves when I first read them. The basic moves in this game are Unleash the Dark, Power Through the Darkness, Reveal Your Heart, Torn Between, Grasp Key, and Unlock Doom's Door. There's over 20 moves in this game, so do not feel the need to memorize them to play this game. When I mentioned earning darkness tokens earlier, I mentioned that the playbooks for each character archetype describe how your character can earn these tokens. Generally, this is through playing through certain emotional storylines or prompts for your type of character. These triggers are different for each playbook, so you do have to be vigilant and keep an eye on your own sheet to know when you've earned a token. It does feel very unusual to have a game set in contemporary times. It's not the most common era I've seen games set in. I do think on occasion, in spite of the large number of moves in this game, you're going to come across a situation where you feel like you want to roll the dice, but you're not entirely sure what's going to apply. I definitely would be having an open discussion if you're a player or an MC and you're not sure what you want your players or your character to do. The mechanics of this game are definitely meant to be covering more of the emotional, melodramatic side of the story. If you're looking for really engaging tactical combat, then I think you would find this game a bit disappointing. It's definitely a feelings first kind of game. It's a little bit difficult for me to summarize who would enjoy this game. I think if you're interested in urban fantasy and you're really drawn to games with strong emotional storylines, then this is going to be a great one to pick up. I'm not sure though if the Hellboy inspiration would be off-putting to people, if only because they're not familiar with what that world might be like. If you're not interested in emotional drama, I absolutely would understand why you would want to skip this one. If you love messy found family stories though, I think this is going to be an absolute hit for you. Evil Hat Productions has a physical copy and a PDF of this game bundled together for around $50. I'm not entirely sure if that's a price that's worth paying, as I'm not sure if this game has a lot of broad appeal. I would suggest if you can flick through it before purchasing it, even just to see if the vibe is your thing. That might be wise. I happened to get my copy through a bundled lot of secondhand RPG books, so that was pretty lucky for me. Apocolypse Keys is pretty fun. I like that it's a contemporary fantasy science fiction game. How about you? Do you like fantasy set in the modern era? Do you have any modern fantasy tabletop games that you really love? Tell me about them in the comment section down below. While you're there, I encourage you to like this video. Perhaps you could even share it with a friend who you think might find it interesting. If you want to find out when I next upload, you can subscribe and turn on notifications so YouTube will tell you when I've next uploaded. If you would like to further support this channel, there is a link in my description box to my Ko-Fi page. All donations to the channel go directly back to the running costs of the channel, so it is deeply appreciated. I want to thank you all for watching and discussing this game with me. I hope you're all well, and I look forward to seeing you next time at the gaming table. Bye!